Welcome back to MVM, the show where we talk about all things board game related. Today we're excited to bring you a Kickstarter preview. This one's from Scott Caputo and Druid City Games. It's called Sorcerer City, and it's about sorcerers who are building and rebuilding their city over and over.
Right, and this is a real-time tile placement game.
Yep.
You're not competing time-wise against each other as much as you are just against a clock to build your city in front of you.
Yeah. We loved Whistle Stop last year. This is the same designer as Whistle Stop. Again, it's another tile placement game. It's very, very cool because you are building a city in front of you, but it's timed. You have 2 minutes in order to build your city. Once you're done building your city, you're going to score it out, and then your whole city gets deconstructed, and you have to redo it again, but you're going to have new tiles that you buy into your city. Plus, you're going to have monsters every round, which kind of mess with your ability to do things within your city.
Yeah, it's really cool because in most tile placement games, you build, and then you add to it, and then you add to it. But like Jeremy said, you're going to take all of these and shuffle them back up every single time. The interesting thing that you'll realize right away is you start to learn what tiles you have and how you want to build your city because you're trying to build different districts to achieve different scores on these 4 different tracks here.
So, as we said, it takes place over 5 different rounds. It's noted by this influence rewards. You have year 1, year 2, year 3, 4, and 5. Each of these are going to give players a certain amount of prestige if they build the best cities. Below them, you have some rewards. These are handed out at the end of the round. You have monsters. There's a variety of different monsters. There's 8 monsters in the base game. They come in tier 1s and tier 2s, and they all wreak havoc. Some of them will wreak havoc the moment that you flip them up and place them in your city. Some of them don't happen until the timer runs out, and then they will affect certain rows or columns or places that are surrounding that specific monster that you have. You also have a variety of different city tiles that you're going to be able to buy. Those come in 4 different tiers. The tiers get better as you go, but they become more expensive as you go. Typically, the better you get, the more points they could possibly provide in one of the 4 different scoring categories that you have. Each player has a board in front of them, and there are 4 different tracks on here. These all do different things within the game, and they all depend upon how you've built your city.
Right, the different districts in the city are going to be based on these different colors that relate to this track. There's raw magic, there's influence, there's money, and then finally prestige. So as you find yourself building the tiles out here, you could go and try to build up big prestige districts. Just score straight up points potentially. Or influence, which is going to let you get some of these rewards. Or money, which is going to let you buy tiles, which is the next part of the components here.
As we said, there's a variety of different tiles. When you look at these tiles, they're stacked 3 up in each of these different columns. In the upper right-hand corner, you have the amount of money that it costs in order to buy those. These, again, are different colored sections. Each of the city tiles have different colors. They may have multiple colors on them. They may have spells associated with them, which are these scrolls that you see. These allow you to do things after the timer is run out. And then you have a variety of different shields. These shields are basically the scoring component within your city. Each player is going to start with a stack of these, and they're going to randomly shuffle these. So they don't know what's on the other sides, but everyone has the same basic starting tiles at the beginning of the game. Also, each player is going to have a set of 3 raw magic conversion cards. There's a point in each of the rounds, once you've built your city, where you can convert all of your magic over to one of the 3 other tracks. It's important because when you look around the board, you can kind of gauge what people are going to score in and then try to maybe play some mind games with those people to try to gain influence, which is ultimately going to allow you to get prestige and card rewards.
Yeah, for example, you might have 4 raw magic and you're really close with another player on influence. You really want this reward. You think, okay, I'm going to spend and convert all of my raw magic into influence, but that other player does the same thing and still stays ahead of you. So you've effectively wasted your magic in that respect. So like a lot of Druid City games, there's a little bit of sort of a bluffing mechanic in there.
At the end of the round, all of your prestige that you have is going to convert over to these prestige tokens. These are your victory points. You're trying to collect these round after round because at the end of the game, whoever has the most of those is going to win. Again, at the start of the game, each player is going to be given a stack of cards. They're going to have their 3 conversion. You're going to randomly take from a giant stack 4 rewards. These rewards are like end of the round rewards that players can get. You're going to take a random amount of monsters, 2 from level 1 and 2 from level 2. These are different monsters, and you're going to pull randomly out of a stack of those. You're going to pick X number of them for how many players are participating. The cool thing about these monsters is that although they all have the same inherent abilities when they're placed into your city, they all have different types of tiles that they're built upon, and these are going to be handed out randomly to players, so you don't know which kind of monster or monster tile you're going to get.
Yeah, those monster tiles can really, like we said earlier, mess with you as you're building your tile, or as you're building your city. So depending on what colors you're going heavy in, you might get one that really messes with you more than some others might.
Now it's important when you start the game, you always want to shuffle your stack of cards, and the reason for that is because on the bottom corner there's separators in here, and they show whether they're a starting tile or they're a level 1, 2, 3, or 4 or a monster. So you always want to shuffle them and then do a blind cut.
Yeah.
And that's important because if you see they have a monster on the top, it's kind of cheating a little bit.
You can start to plan if you do that.
You get out a timer. You can use any kind of iOS device or whatever you happen to have in front of you, and you're going to hit go. Now all this is done simultaneously, which is awesome. So all players at the same time are going to reveal their tiles. And what they're trying to do here is to build out their city under 2 minutes. Now the trick here is once you place your city tile and you orient it in either direction, it stays there. It's locked into that position for the rest of the round, and you have to keep building onto that. Now, when you build tiles, colors don't have to match up with one another. You can build tiles so that they don't align, but you typically want to do that because there's a lot of scoring tiles that matter which kind of colors they're attached to.
Yeah, it's nice because a lot of players in tile placement games like this will find it a little difficult to try to follow all those rules. This game, it doesn't really have many rules as it relates to how you can place your tiles. It all comes down to how well you think you might score. So if you want to score really well, you really want to take note of how you're placing your tiles. Colors to colors are going to key off some of the different scoring shields that will come off. But there are other things like the shields themselves that score off of other shields at times, where you can just clump a bunch of your shields up together, potentially score a lot of points, but not really have paid attention too much to the colors matching up.
Now once the timer runs out, everybody has to stop no matter where you are. And then the next thing that happens is that you are going to trigger your monsters and the spells within your city in any order that you so wish. So there are some spells that allow you to kill those monsters, so the monsters won't affect your city. There's other ones that will allow you to move tiles around. There's all kinds of varieties within those spells, but the spells are the ones that have the scroll on them. Some of them will have both, the scroll and the shield. Everybody does that again simultaneously. Everyone's going to be removing, moving, killing off tiles. Now, the monsters do a variety of different things. Some of them will kill shields in a row or a column. Some of them will kill shields in adjacent areas. Adjacency in this game is orthogonal and diagonal. So anything on its corners or on its sides, it could kill. That's one of the things that comes in the second round is the Dark Mage. He's one of those things that will kill multiple different tiles. And then players are going to score their cities. Now, there's 3 basic kinds of scoring systems within the shield structures themselves. There's group goals, there are shield goals, and then there are line goals. We'll walk through each of them individually. Line goals are the easiest to explain. They're going to show 3 consecutive lines, or 3 consecutive tiles with a line through them. And it's going to have a particular color shield. That's asking you for everything that is in a straight line, you're going to count up how many tiles are in there. So if I look at my player board here, this is a blue one. I've got 1 blue, 2 blue, and 3 blue that it connects to. So that scores me 3 blue, which is magic in this, and I simply move up my marker that many times.
And it's important to note, too, that this scoring shield requires you to have at least 3 in a row. If you have 2 blue in a row in that shield, no points. But, like Jeremy said, you can have up to as many as you want in one straight line, and you're going to be able to score that raw magic up that high.
And you're going to score every single one of your lines first. Then you're going to score your group tiles. Group tiles are the ones where you can connect. They don't have to be lines, but they have to be the same color.
The group tiles are signified by 4 little squares of the same color on the same colored shield. Now, you're going to need at least three continuous tiles with that color connected to score this. But again, this can be as large as you want it. It just doesn't have to be in a straight line this time. So you're going to count up all of the tiles that are continuously connected of the same color, and that's your score for that shield.
So if you're looking at this one here, this is showing continuous yellows, 1, 2, 3. So again, I would move up my money track 3. As you can see, as we're explaining this, you're going to be building different colors. So sometimes you may be scoring your magic, sometimes your influence if it's a red tile, your money if it's yellow, and then prestige, which is straight up victory points if it's green. The last one to talk about is the shield goals. The shield goals score for anything that is both orthogonal and diagonal to those particular scoring tiles. If you look at this green one here, I've got at least 3 things surrounding it. So it's going to score. How many points it scores is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm scoring everything that surrounds that tile. In this case, it's a green one, so I'd move up my prestige 4 times.
Yeah, this one basically allows you to score points if you've acquired a lot of shield tiles throughout the game. Regardless of what kind of scoring shield it is,
Yep.
These ones basically give you points for all the different scoring shields clustered into small groups. The other thing, if you haven't figured this out, for all of these goals, you're able to double up on some of these and potentially score it twice. So you might have a long yellow line with 2 shields that score for yellow lines in it, and you score that yellow line twice. Same thing goes with the shields and the groups.
Once you're done scoring and everyone's done scoring and moving up there or adjusting their tracks, then players get to convert their raw magic. As you notice, there's this line, this purple line off to the left-hand side. This can be converted into any one of the 3 different other types of tracks. Each player has 3 cards in front of them showing those 3 different types of tracks. Everyone in Secret's going to simply pick one of those and then reveal it at the same time. Then they're going to move their raw magic, which is basically converting all of it to this other type of track. So I could move all 3 of my raw magic and then move up my victory points or my prestige by 3.
Yeah, or you could move up your money. For instance, if you see some tiles here in the market that you really want to buy, you may want to increase your money. And then finally, you may increase your influence if you think there's a chance it's going to give you first or maybe second place on the influence.
Yeah, influence is super important because the next step is the influence rewards. This is determined by whoever is furthest up on the red track. Whoever is the highest player, they get to get both the reward card and the number of prestige for the year that you're playing in. So in the very first year, that player would get 6 prestige, marking it on their track, and they get the reward, whichever that may be. Now there's a whole stack of random rewards, but they can see in advance what it may possibly be.
Yeah, and these prestige points too will gradually get higher and higher. By the end of the game, whoever has the most influence in the 5th round, they get 25 prestige points.
Yeah.
Now, there's no reward in the 5th round, but 25 points is a significant amount in this game.
And then the second place player gets one or the other, so they're either getting the prestige from that round or the reward card for that round. And then third and fourth place, all the other players are either going to get +5 coins, marking on their track, or they get an extra buy. Every player at the table is going to get 2 buys, and that's basically what's going to happen next once the rewards are handed out. In influence order, so whoever had the most influence for that round gets to buy first. Every player gets to buy 2 cards, minimum. Now, there's ways to adjust that. If you're 3rd or 4th place in a 4-player game, you get to buy a 3rd one, if you have money available to do so. You also get to buy a 4th one, or a 3rd or 4th one, depending on if you have 20 money or more. This also allows that player to buy a 3rd one or a 4th one, depending if they have both goals. When you buy, you're simply moving down your money track and buying any one of the available tiles that are face up in front of you. Now, as we said, they get progressively better, but they also get progressively more expensive for the players to buy. When you buy one, you simply take that tile, pay the cost on your money track, put it face up in front of you because it's going to be shuffled into your stack of tiles for the next round, and then a new one gets revealed.
Right, you reveal the next one immediately so that even you, if you haven't bought your second tile, have the opportunity of that new tile that comes up. Another tile that's available all the time for you are these wild tiles. There are always 8 gold, but this is basically not going to have any reward, but you can treat this however you want when you're scoring. So you can treat this as a green if you've got a green line. You can treat it as a group if you have a yellow group, that sort of thing. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, but it's not going to give you a lot of shields to score more.
Right. After everyone's done buying tiles, everyone's going to convert all of their prestige on their track to actual victory points. So you're simply going to move that back down to 0 and then take that many victory points out of the pile. After that's done, then every player is going to add a random monster to their city. So you're going to take the stack of year 1 monsters. Again, they're all the same. Every one of these is a dark mage, and they're going to shuffle them up and then hand out one randomly to each player.
And then everyone's going to collect all of their tiles from their city they just built with any tiles that they acquired through the purchasing and that monster, shuffle them all up and prepare for the next round because you're going to use all of those tiles, the ones you started with and all of the new ones, to build your new city.
And you're going to do that for 5 years. And each time you're going to build your city anew, always with a 2-minute timer. So the trick here is, as you're adding 2, 3, possibly 4 new tiles to your city every round, the timer doesn't change.
Right.
So you're really pressed for time in order to build that city out. Monsters in the game, well, some of the monsters will activate after you've built your city, but some of the harder monsters will activate the moment that they're flipped up and placed, meaning that their ability has to be activated at that time, which makes it really difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. The longer the game goes on, the first couple rounds you'll think, well, building this city's a breeze.
Yeah.
I can get this thing done. But after you even have just a few more tiles, it really quickly becomes clear that it's a challenge, more of a challenge to get that city built, which is part of the intensity and the fun of the game.
So there's also a variant if you're playing a 2-player game. There are cards that are going to be introduced to each of these 5 years. They're going to add a random influence marker for a player. It's called the mystery player. So you're not only competing against the other player at the table to have the most influence, but you're competing against a mystery player that has one of 3 different tiers. And to determine that, you have cards.
Yeah, these cards, you're going to have a few for each different year. So you're going to randomly take one of these. Here's one for year 1, and you can see everyone will know that this is either going to be a 4, a 7, or a 10 on influence. So like we said earlier, the influence that you're going to look at the end of each round is plays a significant role in the rewards and who's going to get what.
Right.
So you're going to take a look at this, and you can kind of gauge, particularly when you're flipping over your raw magic conversion, how you might want to convert that into influence or money or what have you. Because if it's 4, 7, or 10, this one being 10, you'll have needed 10 influence to beat this guy. If he's in first place, he will then effectively make it so the next best player is only going to get their choice between the prestige and the card, and the third player is, or the second player actually is going to get just the 5 coins or the extra buy.
We've taken very different paths to how we score points. Like one of the games, you went primarily just prestige.
Yeah, our last game,
converting all prestige over.
Our last game, I went mostly prestige, and you can do that by acquiring fewer tiles, but just specifically going after, I went after green tiles and shield tiles so that I was just effectively getting points each round. I wasn't getting a lot of money, so I wasn't buying a lot more tiles. And the flip side of having a lot of good tiles is having fewer tiles makes it easier, or a little easier, to build the city quickly and get it done, so you don't have too many tiles to get through.
Once you get through the first round, you remember automatically which tiles you have in the strategy. You know that, hey, I've bought 3 yellow line tiles. When I find those, I'm going to kind of build off in this direction so that when they do show up, I can add them, knowing that I have a lot of money in order to buy more tiles. So that kind of mentality starts to click after the first round, and you start to recognize those tiles, which is really cool, because when I first played it, I didn't think that was going to be the case.
Yeah, well, the more you play this game, the more you'll get familiar, particularly with this starting stack of tiles. What's really interesting is you'll find yourself, maybe you want to get a lot of raw magic this round, and you get a lot of blue tiles at the beginning. So you start building a nice big group of blue, waiting for that one blue scoring shield.
Yeah.
Now, if that blue scoring shield is at the bottom and you don't get to it, you just wasted a lot of time doing that. So, and that's fun. I mean, you made a mistake, but it's all sort of like that sort of, oh man, that's tough. I'm definitely not going to do that again next round. So there's a lot of that real-time intensity of like trying to make the best decision and crossing your fingers that you do.
And it's also very interesting that you don't have to connect light colored tiles. Like the first time we played it, naturally your inclination is, I need to connect my reds to my reds and my yellows to my yellows. But there are times when you are so pressed for time and you hear that thing clicking down where you said, I'm just going to throw this off to the side. Maybe I can connect it later or not. But you don't have to make that puzzle right from the start. You can kind of build off in any direction that you so wish.
Yeah, what's cool is some of the shields will benefit the players that want to gravitate in that direction. And some of the scoring shields allow you to not care about that so much. One other thing that we haven't noted is this is definitely still a prototype. Jeremy mentioned that we'd played this game a few times. We've played it in different iterations as well.
Absolutely.
This is the newest one that we just got recently, but it's even important to note that we just learned just the other day, a lot of these things are still being tweaked and improved upon. In fact, the timer that we mentioned earlier, they're working on potentially having a dedicated app to do that. So I don't know what that all will involve, but it should be a nice sort of thematic way of having the countdown.
Great follow-up to the Grim Forest from Druid City. Great follow-up to Whistle Stop from Scott Caputo. If you guys are interested in it, go check it out. Make comments below. Ask us questions. We'll answer them for you. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Everything else that we do. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.